Can I really go? Then I can go see your house and the ocean and real trees.
You bet.
Most people don't 100% a video game. The story mode ends, the credits roll, you boot it back up for the side content, and something's different. The novelty's gone. What felt exciting 2 hours ago now feels like a checklist. You're not playing anymore, you're just finishing. And somewhere along the way, you ask yourself why you're still doing this. That's the trap, and most games fall right into it. So today, we're asking the real question. Is it actually worth it to 100% Pragmata? Because a game can have an incredible story, even incredible gameplay, and still make completion feel like a chore. I know I've been burned before. Let's find out if Pragmata is different. What is this game? Pragmata is a short story sci-fi shooter set on the moon. You play as Hugh, an engineer who gets saved by a small android girl named Diana, and the whole game is built around these two figuring each other out while everything falls apart around them. It also puts the AI versus human debate in the spotlight, which is a really interesting discussion in modern times. Got hacking mechanics, some very light Metroidvania elements, and some of the best paced gameplay I've experienced in a while. If you've seen my Resident Evil Requiem video, you know what to expect. We'll talk about visuals and performance, combat and mechanics, story, completion content, and then find out whether the full 100% experience is actually worth your time. Let's get into it. The settings menu is solid, pretty much everything you'd expect, and I appreciated having control over how zoomed in or out you are on the characters. Depth of field and motion blur went off immediately, as they always do, and AMD users did get the short end of the stick this time around. FSR frame generation did not play nice with my setup. Anything that disabled VSync caused constant stuttering. The fix that worked for me was switching to AMD Adrenaline's built-in frame gen, which I don't like using, and using FSR only for upscaling at quality. This was the best compromise I could find between performance and visual fidelity. Bigger issue is AMD cards are locked out of path tracing and ray reconstruction entirely from what I can tell. That weird artifacting that happens with ray tracing sometimes, yeah, we're stuck with that. If anyone's found a consistent fix for this, drop it in the comments. That being said, this game still looks gorgeous. The opening cutscene alone is a great showcase for the lighting engine, and the atmosphere throughout is consistently stunning. The street section mid-game in particular stopped me in my tracks. The monitors, the lighting, the sense that the world has its own rules and gravity. There's a moment where it looks like two roads are operating under separate gravitational pulls, and I had to pause just to soak it in. The music also matches. The beat drops during combat and the satisfying release of tension when you finally win are all woven into the soundscape beautifully. The atmosphere is excellent. On a visual level, Pragmata earns its place. But it's not just the visuals, this game is designed beautifully. Let's start by talking about the combat and mechanics. Pragmata trusts you, and that really shines through in the way mechanics are introduced to the player. There's a design philosophy running through this game, and it took me a little while to name it. This game treats you like a competent player. It's baked into how everything is taught. Or more accurately, how most of it isn't taught at all. Take the mannequin section. The first time you see them, there are no enemies around. Diana even asks Hugh what they are, and there's a sweet little conversation. Then later, enemies start showing up alongside these mannequins, and suddenly you're scanning every room trying to figure out which ones are gonna move. No tutorial, no prompt, the game just assumed you were paying attention, and it was right. That's sort of the template for how almost every mechanic in this game gets introduced. You encounter something, you figure it out, and then the game immediately starts combining it with something else before you've had a chance to get bored. The core mechanic here, aside from traditional third-person shooting, is hacking, moving nodes across a grid, routing them to the right direction, even triggering additional effects. If you ever mastered the disco minigame in Yakuza 0, this is going to click for you immediately. On controller, the layout is intuitive by design. Y is up, A is down, exactly where you'd reach. This intuitive control extends to pretty much any hacking you do in the game. Your gun on its own feels underpowered, but that's on purpose. The moment you hack and weaken the target, crack open those weak spots, the gun becomes a completely different tool. The contrast is the whole point. The player needs to prepare for these encounters. It's not going to be enough to just rely on your twitch reflexes in this game. And because the hacking nodes have limited uses, you're always making a real decision. Spend them now or save them for when things get harder. The loop never goes on autopilot, unless you buy the auto hack mod, which is a nice accessibility offering for those who have trouble multitasking. The first real test of this trust comes when the jammers enter the picture. These enemies plant red nodes on themselves that block Diana's ability to hack, so while you're trying to route nodes across the grid, you've also got to physically shoot the jammers down to even get access to it. The two types of gameplay weave into and out of each other seamlessly. What's smart about this is that it doesn't feel like the game added difficulty for its own sake. It feels like a logical consequence of the world. Of course there are enemies designed to counter the thing you've been relying on. Of course Hugh and Diana have to cover for each other. The mechanic and the character dynamic are the same idea, expressed in two different ways at the same time. A lesser game would have stopped there. Here's the mechanic, use it, next level. But Pragmata keeps going. Take the Terradome section. You've been fighting these crusher bots and have probably gotten used to them by now, but then the game immediately adds another layer. In this room, if you try to jump over the crusher's stomp, very likely to hit these new lasers that spin around. Now you're managing both axes at the same time. The game didn't stop to explain the new layer, it just added it and trusted you to adapt. And because you've been learning to read the environment the whole time, because the mannequins already trained you to look carefully at what's in a room before you walk into it, because the jammers already trained you to split your attention, adapting doesn't feel unfair, it feels earned. That's the difference between a game that stacks mechanics and a game that just throws things at you. Fights in general also feel fair. Most bots will have some sort of container or wall box that they will spawn from, and once you recognize these, you can pretty much get an idea of what each room is going to contain before the fighting even begins. There are a few fights where enemies just kind of spawn from nowhere, but for the most part, the player has clues for every encounter. Boss fights carry the same philosophy. The second boss also has a jammer mechanic. Hugh has to shoot the red nodes on the enemy and let Diana hack again, and the whole fight is built around these two covering for each other. The Scorpion fight later leans hard on reading attack patterns. The Sentinel's arm blades punish impatience. Every fight teaches you something new through the fight itself. The final boss is also a good test of all your skills, but isn't too punishing or hard if you've upgraded everything. After beating the game, you unlock a new mode called Unknown Signal. In this mode, you need to find all the collectibles in each area and fight an enhanced version of each boss. Doing this opens new sim pods in a new area, and your reward for all this is some cool cosmetics. These ones will carry over to all your save files, even if you aren't doing New Game Plus, which I really like. Next on our list is Lunatic mode, and Lunatic was actually more fun. Not because normal is bad, it's well balanced, but because Lunatic gives you your full arsenal from much earlier since you already know it's coming. It respects that you've done this before. The damage is significantly higher, the stakes feel real, and once you start internalizing each enemy's weakness, you know, executors go down to the riot blaster, shield guys fold to the code generator, the whole system opens up in a way normal mode only hints at. If you were wanting more from the combat system, definitely check this out. The story of Pragmata is not complex. It doesn't try to be. What it is ironically human, and those are two very different things. It's exploring what makes us human, connection, what we owe each other. If you've ever read The Positronic Man, or watched I, Robot, and found yourself thinking about it for days after, this is in that conversation. The reason the story lands as hard as it does is entirely because of the characters. And what's smart about it is that Diana isn't just being escorted, she's not a passenger. She actively saves Hugh multiple times. There are moments where she's the one who figures out the solution, or steps up when he can't. The game earns the partnership rather than just telling you it exists. There's a line early on, and I'll just let it speak for itself.
Talking with someone who just accepts you for you is a kind of nourishment, but for your soul.
You can get nutrients from talking?
Something like that.
This is where I realized the game was going somewhere real with its themes. Back at the shelter between levels, you can expand on thoughts Hugh and Diana had out in the field. It's not mandatory, it's just there if you want to sit with the story longer. The fact that these moments exist tells you the writers had confidence in their more emotional beats. You can also give Diana little gifts you find out in the world, which leads to sweet little moments between the two. Spoiler warning here, there's major story events discussed, so skip to the next timestamp if you haven't finished the game and don't want to spoil it. Now here's something I didn't notice until the end. Every single story beat in the second half of this game is about Diana. Not adjacent to Diana, not related to Diana, but about her specifically, and about how much you've come to care about her by that point. Slowly, the eating conversation, the shelter check-ins, the moments where she steps up and saves Hugh when he can't save himself, it builds the relationship quietly, almost underneath you, so that by the time the second half hits, you're not just watching events unfold, you're invested in a specific person. And then 8 happens. Diana loses her arm and her leg, and what makes that moment so brutal isn't just what happened to her physically, it's that it recontextualizes 8, the dead filament. Everything that felt like background world building up to that point. The story was setting this up the whole time. You just didn't see it coming because you were too focused on Hugh and Diana. Here is where the writing gets really clever. Right when you're already hollowed out worrying about Diana, right in that moment of vulnerability, the game introduces Dr. Higgins, a man who spent his final years trying to save his daughter through his research, and in doing so, never actually got to be with her. He failed to save her, and he missed his last chance to just be present. That's not a coincidence. The writers placed that story exactly where they did because you're primed to feel it. You're sitting there, thinking about a girl who might not make it, and the game holds up a mirror. This is what it looks like when someone loses that. This is what it costs. So when Diana gets fixed, when she backs up her most important memories, I don't think it would have hit nearly as hard without Higgins sitting right behind it. The relief of that moment is inseparable from the weight of what could have happened. The game earns the payoff by making you afraid of the alternative first. And then the final boss does it one more time. The final sequence, you know what, I'll just let it speak for itself.
Not like this!
Let me try.
The two of them working as a team in a way that only makes sense because of everything they've been through. It lands because the game has spent 15 hours making you believe in these two people, and the extra line after unknown signal, Cabin asking,
"Welcome back. What's this? Traveling alone today?"
Small moment of hope after everything got me in a way I genuinely didn't see coming. It's not a complex story, it's a story about one or two characters, told through every other character around them, and it never loses that thread for a second. So what are we actually going for here? Completion in Pragmata means collectibles scattered through each area. Mini cabins, cabin coins, upgrade components, etc. Bingo boards back at the shelter. Enemy models with a cool open-up feature that shows you their weak points. Training sims, outfits, and area completion percentages visible from the tram that tell you exactly what you're still missing. I really like this. I can't overstate how much I appreciate a game that doesn't make you guess. Now the side content does make you meaningfully stronger. It's not just cosmetic padding. Repair cartridges, hacking nodes, and suit mods are woven into the exploration. You find things because you're curious, and those things feed back into the combat. Lore also rewards attentive players. For instance, there's a note about humans hiding in cargo containers. Pay attention to that. The training sims are where the game overstays its welcome slightly, in my opinion. They're optional, but a couple of the expert challenges, Charge Piercer Expert 2 and the very last challenge especially, were pretty rough. The mini cabins require a dedicated hunt and aren't always well telegraphed. If you're going for full completion, just know that's in there. Unknown Signal is bonus content done right. New area, new weapon, simulator challenges unlocked by completing tasks, enhanced versions of every boss, and a second ending. Normal mode, main story, plus Unknown Signal with thorough exploration took me around 19 hours. Full completion will push that a bit higher. For this content density, that feels like a fair ask. Pragmata doesn't waste your time. So, is Pragmata worth going for 100%? Yes, but I would say play the demo first. The gameplay loop is really specific. The hacking minigame is not for everyone, but if it clicks, you'll want to stay in this world as long as possible. If it doesn't, no amount of side content is going to change that. A better question might be, what kind of player are you? Are you a story player? This is one of the better narrative experiences in recent memory. Are you a hardcore gamer? Play Lunatic and thank me later. Are you a completionist? The structure is clean, the rewards are meaningful, and the game respects your time more than most. My only real gripes with the game are the AMD path tracing walkout is honestly disappointing. FSR issues exist and may be worse depending on your setup, and the training sims push just past their welcome. None of that changes the overall picture much, but you deserve to know going in. I've been trying to figure out what it is about this game that stuck with me. The story goes places you can see coming. The mechanics are solid, but nothing revolutionary. On paper, it's a good game, but days, even weeks later, I'm still thinking about Hugh and Diana. About the beach, about when Diana wakes up, about the last line before the credits. Most games end and you move on, but this one stayed with me, and I think that's the whole point of asking whether something is worth 100%. It's not about the bingo boards or the trophies, it's about whether a game gives you a reason to keep showing up. Pragmata gave me that reason, and then some. Did Pragmata's ending get to you like it got to me? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. You can also check out a very similar breakdown I did of Resident Evil Requiem by clicking the video on the screen. Thanks for watching, now get out there and
Go find the sea.
No, wait!
Have a safe journey, kiddo.
Do you remember the reason that we walked along?
I'm ready.